It's about that time. We're almost done with school. Yay! You guys almost done? Oh my word. I am so ready to be done. I feel like a lot of times it's more mom that's ready to be done than the kids when you homeschool. So anyway, we are almost done. So I thought now is a great time to talk to you guys about our hits and misses from this year, about the curriculum that we used, end of year review, what we thought. If you're curious about the curriculum that we used this year and whether we liked it or we didn't like it, I'm going to try to do a quick run through of everything we used, what my thoughts were, and just throw that out at you guys so that you have an idea about whether that's something you might want to use next year or not. Let's get into it. It actually was a really good school year, and I'm really proud of myself and my kids that we pushed through. And this is actually only, I think, our second year not doing year-round homeschooling. We always did year-round homeschooling, I think, forever. And they didn't want to do it last year. And I feel like it was a rough year with a lot of other stuff, and we fell behind. This year, I was like, we're going to start on this date. We're going to end on this date. We're only going to take these days off. And so we have a nice big summer break because that's what they wanted. And we did it. Yay. I'm exhausted. Now I'm going to talk about what we used and what we thought. I'm just going to go by subject. I'll let you know if it's a hit or a miss and what we thought. So first thing we're going to talk about is history. We did a co-op this year that is more like 1 day a week school type of co-op thing, where all the co-ops we've been in before have been more like electives and fun stuff. This one was less fun stuff and more just getting some of the academics done on Monday, and then the rest of the week they had homework to go along with that. So the subjects that they covered in Monday school, which is what we call the co-op was Monday school, was history, science, and for the big kids, they did literature, and geography was also covered. So that was actually a lot that they were able to get done on Monday, and then each day they just had homework. The two big girls, especially my kids, if you're new here, we're finishing up 9th grade, 7th grade, 5th grade, and 2nd grade. I'm going to start with history and tell you guys what we thought. So these were things they did at co-op. I did not teach them at all, but I am very familiar with some of the curriculum, so I can still talk about it. And I asked my kids, what are your thoughts? And I wrote down what their thoughts were. So take that with a grain of salt because, it's the end of the year and we're all tired of doing school. So hopefully it's a good assessment. So the first one is Biblioplan. We did ancient times with Biblioplan this year. So my 9th grader and my 7th grader both did Biblioplan. And they loved it. I think they learned a lot. I think they learned more. They learned more at co-op this year than they say they ever have in history. Yay, Mom. So I try not to be offended. It's okay. I'm learning. You learn as a homeschool mom. You're not always doing it the way you're supposed to. I think part of the reason why they felt like they learned more this year, they used the audio version. And so for the most part, there were times where they did it separate, but for the most part, my two big girls, they listened to the Remember the Days book. And yes, the high schoolers at this co-op used the same book as the junior high, the Remember the Days book. And I think it's fine. I know they have a companion guide that is for high school, but I think this one is plenty, and I think it's enough for history. They thought it was enough. I thought it was enough. So that's what we did. But I feel like just listening to it, and they had their books open, and it helped them. So they're like reading along while they're listening. I don't know. They said they retained more than when we used to sit in a circle and hold hands and read history together. We didn't really hold hands. So they really liked listening to the audio version of it, and they had their questions in front of them. They did the cool history questions this year, the 2 different levels, I'm pretty sure, of the cool history questions, and they did really well with it. The other thing they did was the geography, which is the hands-on maps with Biblioplan. And they had a geography class they went to, and their teacher, helped them fill out the maps and taught them stuff. And I think they thought that was good too. So yay. My 5th grader did Ohio State history this year. She did the Ohio State history student notebook. This is just like a generic, I don't know. It's just like a book from Rainbow Resource or something like that. She really liked it. She learned a lot. It also could be the teacher, like it was really like a class teaching them. So it's different. So she also had my state notebook, which they filled out and learned, and she really enjoyed that too. This is actually a Becca book, but she really enjoyed that. And then for geography, she actually had a book, I think that, yeah, this is Evan Moore, which we've used Evan Moore spelling before. This is Daily Geography, and it's just like pages of different maps and different things. They learn about like the map legend and, you know, all these different things. And she really enjoyed it. So she loved that. So I think with this just being kind of a straightforward geography practice book, she still liked it a lot. I'm not going to share a whole lot about history for my son because I wasn't in his class, and my girls, like every day on the way home from co-op, I was like, okay, what did you learn? What did you do in this class? What did you do in this class? He always said the answer that I've always heard kids say to their parents when they send them away to school, and then they're like, what did you learn today? I don't remember. Every day. That's always what he told me. So I'm assuming he learned some stuff this year. I don't know what he learned. I think at our last day of co-op, which is next week, he's going to get all the papers that they worked on and did, and I'll get to see some of the progress of whatever. But I'm like, what person did you learn about today? I don't know. What happened in history? I don't know. So anyway, it is what it is. So I have no recommendations for second grade history because I just was hands off. I wasn't in the class, and he's not one that discussed anything with me. So I'm just assuming that his teachers taught him stuff. That was all the history stuff. So they used Not Grass One, Our Star Spangled Banner was what they used for history. But because I wasn't in there, I can't really give you any sort of recommendation or not on that. Science, let's move on to science. So none of those were misses. Those were all good. Yay, history. My oldest did astronomy this year with master books, I believe. I'll put a picture of the set. So she did astronomy. They had like 3 different books that they did with it. And so her opinion was there were 2, the one book she really loved was The Stargazer's Guide to the Night Sky. She said that was her favorite. It was really interesting. She loved it. It was very cool that they studied astronomy the year that an eclipse happened, and we got to see the whole thing here in Ohio, which was super awesome. That worked out amazingly in her favor that she studied astronomy this year. So the other 2 books that were in that section, in that like book pack, was Our Created Moon and Taking Back Astronomy. And her only opinion on those was that they were kind of dry and hard to retain. And, you know, I didn't do it. So I'm just telling you from a 9th grader's opinion. She liked the one book, wasn't a huge fan of the others, but all in all, I think she did enjoy her astronomy. I mean, in a book pack and certain things, you're not always going to love everything, but that's what she said. My second daughter, who's in 7th grade, did Master Books Life Science, which I'll put here. She actually really liked this book. She said it was very interesting, and her favorite part was that it wasn't just one book on one thing. She said it covered plants, animals, and the human body. So she liked that it was kind of like 3 little units inside of one big book, and you're not just studying the same thing all year long. So she really liked that. So I think that went well. My 5th grader did Apologia Swimming Creatures, and I've never been a big fan of Apologia, so she really learned a lot. I will say that. She always came home and had stuff to tell us about this shark and this dolphin, and did you know this about this? So she learned a lot. Now, so that could be because of the teacher also. You know, again, when you're not sitting in the class, I don't know, but she loved it. She did learn a lot. She said when she had homework to read out of the book, because they all had their own textbook, the teacher taught them some, and then they had homework sometimes where they had to read on their own. My issue with Apologia is what she had an issue with is just that it's a lot of reading. It's like, I always have felt like Apologia, I know a ton of people use it, and I've tried to use it, and it just is not my favorite. I just feel like it's so much information. The lessons are so long, you know, with a few pictures here and there, but it's just a lot of information. And that's the way they do it. And it's good, solid information, but it can just, sometimes to me, it feels like it's too long. So that was her only thing, was that it was a lot of reading when they had homework and stuff. So that's that. Okay. My son for science, they did Apologia Flying Creatures, and I know that one week he told me they learned about bats. Other than that, he didn't tell me anything. So I don't know what to tell you about that. Now let's move on to the stuff that I actually know about. Language, we'll move on to language. So my 2 big girls did Fix-It Grammar. We've done that for a few years now. They did the level, I don't know what the number is, but it's Mowgli and Shere Khan. And it was great. It was really good. I love it. I feel like if I could tell you my opinion on how the best way to do language, for me would be, I did like the Good and the Beautiful's language that we did a couple years ago, especially for the for my preschooler. That was really, really good, just learning letters and stuff. But I would say Christian Light for your elementary years, and then switching to Fix It Grammar, because I feel like Christian Light gives such a good foundation that then they can switch to Fix It Grammar, which are much shorter lessons, but they've already learned so much. And then when they get to this, some of it's new, but a lot of it they already kind of know, but it is good. It's so good. And I like having two students doing it together, if you're able to do that, because they kind of challenge each other. I feel like it's more fun, and it's always a competition of oh, you missed one, I got all of them right, or whatever. I don't know. It pushes them to work really hard and try to get the sentence done. But we just do one sentence a day. It's, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes or so. It's pretty quick. And then some of they have other parts of English language stuff that they do, but that's their language. It was great. We loved it. Love Fix It Grammar. My other two do Christian Light Education. For second, we did level 2 and level 5, and it was great. My daughter did great. She learned so much. She said, when I asked her today, she's like, I don't think it's the most fun curriculum. Christian Light is their long lessons, is just straightforward, black and white. It is what it is. You're doing language. You're doing sentence diagramming. You're doing spelling, all this stuff. It's probably 3 or 4 pages every single day. But she has so much knowledge in her head because of this. So it is totally worth it. Certain kids may not be able to do it. And I think I was given one of those. As much as I want Christian Light Education to work, I haven't figured out what I'm doing next year with my son, because the lessons were just long for him. It's hard for him to sit still for that long. And I know you can break the lessons up. We ended up just really breaking it up near the end of the year and doing spelling, and I'm doing a little bit different language stuff, but it's really hard for him. I can't just be open your language book and do these 4 pages. It's torture. He thinks it's torture. So overall, I've done Christian Light, especially level 2, with 4 kids now. 3 out of the 4, it was amazing for them. If you have a boy that struggles to sit still, or long lessons are hard, it could be hard for them. So it was really hard with my son this year. He learned a lot, and I made him do it, but it was painful. Okay, so Bible was a little bit different. We did the Who is God Bible by Apologia. And I, again, was I don't know, Apologia. I've always, their science has never done well for us. But everybody says this is a really good Bible. Everybody's doing it, I felt all the YouTubers do Who is God and say it's great. So I'm we can do it. So anyway, one cool thing that was different this year was my husband taught that. My husband is home on disability now. And I was this would be a cool thing for him to be involved in the homeschool, because he's never been involved because he's always been away working. He taught the kids every single day. And I usually sat in on them. Sometimes I was, switching laundry or whatever. But for the most part, I sat in with him when they were doing Bible. And we do that first thing in the morning. I think it was really good. I can't remember what age it's geared towards. If I figure that out, I'll put that right here for you to see. So we did it as a family. I'll just read you as the teacher, what his opinion was. He said it was factually accurate, which is very important when you're talking about Bible. He never ran into anything that he didn't agree with. The problem was it felt very repetitive. It felt like you're kind of going over the same thing in a lot of the lessons, and reviewing stuff that, at least for us, felt we already knew, or maybe we learned it in here and then you keep going over and over and over it. And I don't know, it just felt repetitive. So that was one issue we had. And the other one was that the stories were really long. I guess in there, he'll teach something and then there's a story to go along with it. And he said that just the stories were really long. It felt like sometimes it took a good solid 40 minutes, I would say. Maybe 45 sometimes. It was longer than a Bible has ever taken us before. So yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say I would do it again, but I think the kids did learn some stuff from it. So I would say, I wouldn't necessarily call it a miss, but I wouldn't call it a hit either. Maybe somewhere in the middle. That's my 2 cents, but I know there's other people that love it. Now we've got math. We used Christian Light Education Math for my 5th grader and my 2nd grader, and that went amazingly well. 5th grader did great. Christian Light is just straightforward. It teaches the lesson to her. I don't have to be there holding her hand. She does great. If you have a child that can work independently, it's awesome because it teaches the new concept, has some practice problems, then they go over the rest is review stuff. So it worked amazingly for her. For my son, again, it felt like the lessons were long. And one thing I finally started implementing that a lot of other moms did was crossing off problems. So instead of making him do because it is 3 or 4 pages of math usually, which to him, he just sees it and he's like, oh, this is so much today. It's like the end of the world, where if you just take a little bit at a time, it actually is not that big of a deal, but it felt like a lot to him. So I started crossing off problems for him. We do the new concept and then, say there's 6 addition problems, I'll cross off 2. Say down here, there's 3 of the same thing, I'll cross off one of those. And that just mentally helped him to be okay. And it's plenty of review. So I don't think he's missing anything. And you're reviewing the same stuff really every single day. So in this light unit, I think it ended up being great. Hard for him. I don't know. I'm learning how to teach a kid that's different from all my girls were, but so it can be a struggle, but it was a really good, solid curriculum. I mean, he's doing really well in math when he has a good attitude. In the beginning of the year, my 7th grader and my 9th grader, we decided to try both of them on CTC Math. And I actually partnered with CTC Math this year to try it out. And in the beginning, I was like, this is awesome. Now, just because I partnered with them, you're still going to hear my honest opinion because I know they want people to be honest too, So in the beginning, it was great. I'm like, man, this is math on the laptop. The kid goes, watches the lesson, does the lesson on the computer. It grades it, gives them a grade right away, sends me a report to say how they did. Woo, could you get any better? Great. So it worked good for a little bit for my oldest. My oldest was doing algebra and it just got to where what her struggle was it would teach a concept, pretty short lessons, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes. So she'd watch the video, it would teach the lesson, then it would give you practice problems. Maybe 2 of the practice problems would be just like the one that they taught you. Then the rest of them were either a little bit different or significantly different to where it was like, how am I supposed to know how to do this? And my frustration with it was it didn't give you an explanation as if she did the problem and got it wrong, it has a red X and it has the answer next to it. There's no explanation. You should have done this over this times this, whatever. There's no explaining how you did, why you did it wrong. And as a mom who is not a mathematician, I am not strong in math, trying to help them through these hard problems that they know they got it wrong, but how do I understand how to get it right? I felt very stuck and it did not work for her. It was, I think we made it maybe a month. And for her at the level she was at, we were like, nope, this isn't working. So I will tell you in a minute what she ended up doing. But for CTC Math, for my 7th grader, I would say for 75% of the year, it was great. It was really, really good for her. She wasn't, in as high of a math level and things were, she had times where, they'd give you a question and then your practice problems would not be the same thing as that, but she was able to kind of figure it out. It wasn't until the 3rd quarter, end of the 3rd quarter, start of the 4th quarter, that she started doing much harder math. And that's when I'm like, we could not figure it out. We actually couldn't figure it out. A couple of these things, I don't remember what exactly we were doing a couple of weeks ago, but she got something wrong. It was some crazy, I don't know, math that I don't remember. And my husband wasn't home. I could not figure it out. I texted a friend because I was going to just send him a screenshot of the picture and see, hey, do you know how to do this? That friend didn't answer. So my neighbor has a daughter that is graduating this year. So I'm like, maybe she can help. So I sent them the answer and they worked on it for a little bit and then texted me back what they thought it was. And it was the right answer. So they were able to help us through that, through texting down the street with a friend. But she said even for her, she was like, I was stumped on this. It was kind of hard. So that's frustrating when you don't have a teacher's book that helps you like, okay, well, this is how you're supposed to do it. You know, like in Christian Light, they have the answers, but they also have like how they solved it. It's all written out for you. And in some other, I think in teaching textbooks, I've asked a couple of friends, they said it shows them how they solve the problem if they get it wrong. This does not. You're kind of on your own. And that is the only frustration for me. I actually tried to call them twice, and because they're supposed to have a helpline that helps you. And the first time I called, they said they'd call me back later. They took my number and we're going to call back. And I'm like, we're in the middle of a math problem. Like, I need help right now. And by the time they called back, obviously we were done. We'd moved on. It was a couple hours later. And then we tried another time and they said they'd take my number. And I'm like, we're in the middle of it right now. So never mind, forget it. So anyway, I would say it was frustrating. I would say if you are really good at math, this is just my opinion. And remember, take it with a grain of salt. I am not trying to ever bash any curriculums. And I know some of them work for some people. I use CTC Math because of recommendations from friends. So I'd heard that it does work amazingly for some people. It just didn't work for us. I think that if you're really good at math, or if you're pretty strong at math and, I don't know, able to figure things out, I think it could be amazing for you, because it is great that it's all online. It's all graded for you. And it's, I don't know, I think it can be amazing if you're strong in math. If you struggle in math, if your child isn't super math minded, I don't feel like you get enough help with it. So that's my opinion. If you've had a different experience or you've heard different, don't not use it because of us. I'm just sharing what worked for us and what didn't work for us. And it's not something that I would probably ever use again. I'm glad we tried it. And I did like that I didn't have to be hands-on with like grading and stuff, but towards the end of the year with my 7th grader who's still finishing it, she's got a couple more weeks left. I'm sitting there watching all the lessons with her and trying to figure this out. And it's just, I don't know, maybe upper level math is like this, but I need some more explanation. And that's my 2 cents. So what did we switch to for my high schooler? We found Denison Math. I was a little bit nervous because, again, it's one of those things. It's like, I've never tried it. Word of mouth. Some people say it's great, but you never know until you try it. And we already were a month into this other one. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. And it's not, super cheap, but I felt like we need something different. So we tried it. I am not kidding. This is the win of the year. This Denison Math, changed my daughter in math. She has always hated math. She is getting hundreds. At the most, she might miss 2 problems in a math lesson. She is doing so well. And I don't do it with her at all. She watches a video lesson, which she said, I think is about 15, 20 minutes long. And then they have books, which I appreciate that. So she watches it online, and then she has this big fat student textbook, which was a little overwhelming at first, but it's great. It's not too many problems on the pages, but it's enough and a great explanation. There's a solutions manual so that if you don't know how to do things, see, they show you on here with handwriting, like in the guy's handwriting, shows you exactly what you should have done. And with algebra, I just feel like unless you, mom or dad, is an algebra teacher, you need extra help. This has been great. And then there's also a test booklet too, and a teacher's book that I have over there. But it's been great. It was absolutely worth the money. And we had no more tears the rest of the year for math, which was so great. So I love it. Absolutely. I'm excited to continue with Denison. It was great. That was a win. Yay. Woohoo! 2 more things, and then I'm done. Should I end on a hit or should I end on a miss? I will end on a hit. So let me do my little miss first, but my miss is a little bit my fault. We did Write Shop this year. We did Write Shop last year too. Write Shop is a writing program. I think it has a lot of potential. I think if I maybe spent a chunk of time in the summer planning it out and really looking through stuff, I think we'd do great. We did way better than last year. I just didn't do it enough. I wish it was set up a little differently. It takes it's 2 weeks to do a lesson, and there's all these different things you're supposed to do every day. And the teacher's book doesn't line up with the student book the way that I feel like it should, so it doesn't make a ton of sense. I finally figured it out, and it makes more sense now, Sometimes it was overwhelming and I'm like, we'll just do it. I wish it was like, I don't know, a couple days a week, but it's like every single day you have to do it. And then if you get behind, it throws you off. And I don't know. I maybe just failed at teaching this the way I should. But what I will say is we didn't get through the book, obviously. Obviously we didn't. But I will say that the writing projects that they did were great. And I think they did a really good job. I think they learned a lot. It has cool word lists in the back of the book. I just wish it was set up differently. It kind of gives me a headache to try to wrap my head around doing a lesson just because of the way it's set up. But I think if you just figure that out and then you write it on your schedule to do it every single day, I think you'll do fine. I don't know what my deal is, but I wanted to make it work because I paid for this and I wanted to make it work. But anyway, I feel like my girls are writing really well. And thanks to this, I think they're doing a really good job. But it just, I wish it was more user-friendly. That's what I wish. Okay, so that's why that's kind of a miss. I wouldn't recommend it unless you really put time into figuring out how to use it first. So do that. And then it should be fine. I was always kind of good at language and writing was always kind of came easy to me. So sometimes it feels like they overcomplicate writing and make it a whole lot harder than it needs to be. But I do get that some people just need it all broken down and stuff and need it regimented because writing doesn't come naturally. So I guess as someone who writing does come pretty naturally, it's hard to teach it in a weird way. I am not good at public speaking though. Sorry. I don't know if that made any sense, but we've tried I tried one other writing program, the one that everybody loves from IEW, and I didn't really, that was still, again, really regimented, and I feel like it took all the creativity out, and maybe we didn't do it long enough. I don't know. Who knows? Oh, I don't know what we'll do next year. We'll figure it out. I still have Write Shop, and I still have this hope in me that I could do this right, but I don't know. Last thing, literature was the last thing. This was our first year doing literature guides from Progeny Press. So I taught a literature class at our co-op that my high schooler was in, and then my 7th grader was in a literature class that did other literature guides, but they were all from Progeny Press. And so we did The Hobbit, Screw Tape Letters, The Bronze Bow, and The Christmas Carol. And then my other daughter did I don't remember which ones she did. I loved them. I thought it was really great. A lot of times with reading, when I've tried to do, I assign reading to them, and then it's hard if I haven't read the book to have a good discussion about it. But I felt like having this reading guide that Progeny Press gives you, it gave, especially for this class, like I read the book with them, and then it gave questions, and then it gave me answers so that I knew what I was looking for. It makes it easier to grade. And in case I, interpret it wrong, it's like, oh, that's what it's supposed to be. It gave extra assignments that I could do. I did not have, this is one thing I would say, I would never assign every single thing in the Progeny Press guide. Like, it was a lot for the high schoolers. That's just my opinion. So I usually would have them maybe do the vocabulary, and then like maybe 8 of the questions, 1 dig deeper, and maybe 1 other question. But they usually had like so many extra questions, and sometimes it was like, it's overkill. My 2 cents would be, do not assign every single thing, and don't expect them to do every single thing, just because I think you don't want to take the fun and the joy out of reading the book by killing them with all these questions. So I think questions are good, and I think it's good to make sure that they're comprehending it, and it was really good for discussion and things like that. Just don't do too much. So that is what we did this year. I think that's everything. We had some other stuff here and there that we did, and I wasn't great at doing every single day, but we did use our morning basket. I had a poetry book that was good. The hymn book we did in the beginning of the year, and then I don't know, we didn't do it later. Oh, I had one more thing I wanted to share. So this wasn't actually like part of, since they did science at co-op, this was just an extra fun thing I wanted to do because I love the Good and the Beautiful science units. So we did arthropods. It comes with a student book for 2 of my kids. I didn't get one for my high schooler, but I got it for the other 2. But the arthropods book was great. This was really fun. I did it with all of my kids, and there were a couple videos in there that I really loved. I think that's a new thing, I feel like, that they're putting in these books that like, I think it was a bee. Maybe it showed how a beehive was made. And there was one other thing. Oh, I think it was like a butterfly in the cocoon. It was just neat to see that like progression on the video. And I wish they had more of those videos in there because it was neat. Because one of them, the last one from the other day, I didn't do yet because you're supposed to observe an ant farm. And I didn't obviously get an ant farm for them to observe. So we had to skip that. So I may have to find one online so that we can do that unit. I love the Good and the Beautiful science units. And I think they're fun to do together. So that was great. I would definitely recommend that. And my daughter, I have one daughter that's like super terrified of creepy crawlies and spiders and all the stuff. And I was afraid she'd like freak out doing this unit, but she didn't. She did great. So even if you have somebody who's terrified of spiders and stuff, I think they can still handle this unit. So that's everything, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it gave you some idea of something. I'm a little bit of a scatterbrain sometimes, not the traditional homeschooler, but overall we had a really good year and I don't regret using anything that we used. It's always a learning process. You know, you don't know until you try it sometimes, even if you hear. So that's my only piece of advice that I'm going to give you is even if you hear that somebody else says it's amazing, it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So you really don't know until you try it. Use what works for you. And if you have to switch mid-year or even in the beginning of the year, like we had to do, the rest of the year was a success for us. So it was worth switching that math. So do what you need to do. Switch. Do not keep doing something that's not working. Thanks for being here, guys. I appreciate it. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more of my videos. I don't even know what we're using yet next year. I have a list started. I finally started a list the other day, but I have not ordered anything. So I will get that out to you guys soon as I figure it out. If you want to make sure you don't miss that, more homeschooling stuff, mom life, and thrifting, then make sure you subscribe. Okay, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.